Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. Actually, tonight we're going to be talking more hard rock than metal, so just to be very transparent up front, this is not a metal band we're covering tonight. Tonight we're going to be discussing California's House of Lords, who have been around for a long time, operating in the sort of modern hard rock vein. I'm covering House of Lords for two reasons. First off, I love the band. Always have. They're one of the few bands, going back into the 80s non-metal scene that I still try to keep tabs on and pick up most of their releases. The other reason I'm covering them is that, well, nobody else does. This band occasionally comes up over on heavy metallurgy when we're talking about favorite releases from a different year or stuff like that. There's occasionally a chance for me to grab a House of Lords album and work it into the conversation. And it's usually met with, the sound of crickets in the live chat and Marty looking at me saying, "You're the only person I've ever heard mention this band." So I figured it's time to give the band 15 minutes of fame in the spotlight here and maybe help a few other people connect with their music because I think they are a very strong band for this style. And as I've already made it clear, this is not a heavy metal band. They're also not a glam metal band. And that's one of the first problems that House of Lords ran into on their journey. But let's back up and start at the beginning. The band kind of emerged out of some of the work being done by Greg Giuffria. I am probably butchering that name. People have told me how to pronounce it, and it just never sticks. Greg was the keyboard player for Angel back in the 70s, and in the early 80s, he had a self-titled project going on. And as he started working on material for his third solo album, an opportunity came up to work and get the material released through Gene Simmons's company, which was, I think, just called like Simmons Records. But the few changes ended up getting made. I've read that these were kind of, at Gene's insistence. Can't imagine Gene putting demands on people. That just seems out of character for him. But anyway, the bottom line was that the project got renamed. Instead of just being called Giuffria, the name was changed to House of Lords. Another noticeable change slash ultimatum was that a new vocalist was needed. And this is where James Christian was brought on board. And for me, this is a huge move because James has been in the band ever since. He sings on all their albums, and he has a terrific voice. I love his tone. He can be very strong, very emotive, very passionate, but he's got enough texture to his voice, that it's not that he sounds heavy, but it's just a very charismatic voice. He knows how to sing. It's not like he's an outsider or anything. So good vocals, really great voice. He adds a ton to the band, and he's kind of the connecting piece throughout the band's discography from that point forward. So the changes are made, things are lined up, and the band gets to put out this album, their first album under the name House of Lords, on the RCA label in 1988. It's one of the few I don't have a hard copy of anymore. I've owned it in the past, I just don't own it currently. It's this one. The border is kind of a dark marbled green. It may not show up particularly well on camera. And, it's got, yeah, sort of like a heraldry image, playing into the name House of Lords a bit. By the way, if you just Google House of Lords, you may get a lot of hits about like British parliamentary procedure. So you may want to do like House of Lords band for more information on them. So the album comes out, and they did score one minor hit with a track called I Want to Be Loved. And that's going to be the first clip that I play here. So yeah, let's see where House of Lords kind of started out and made a small dent on the charts with this tune called I Want to Be Loved.
Babe, I can't get enough. I can feel the heat when it's cold.
right, there you go. Now I can dig that. I understand a lot of folks are not going to be into that style. That's okay. It's not your thing. I can absolutely get behind a song like that. Right away, you've got, a charismatic vocalist. And when you listen, yes, it's a song that's obviously meant to have, radio airplay appeal, but it's actually very well written. House of Lords were not just a random glam band. They were not meant to really hang out with, the Poisons, and faster pussycats of the world necessarily. This is more, in any other era, this would just have been referred to as, a rock band or a hard rock band. But because it was, the late 80s, and of course, they had the big hair and stuff, they kind of kept getting shoved over into that glam bin, which wasn't the place for them. This song, it's a little too good for that kind of material. Um, the band, got opportunities to tour more with bands again, like, Scorpions, Ozzy Osbourne. So again, they're on a label. They've got, at least, a minor hit. They're on some pretty notable tours. They just, it's kind of maybe a hard product to market at the time because, glam had, such a dominating place. And, House of Lords was, musically, they're too good to be a glam band. Glam has, different, conceptions and stereotypes associated with it. For me, if you're talking about, the really, uh, prominent glam, especially from around 88, you're talking about bands that were very much focused more on the image and the hype, and the music was maybe like the third or fourth concern. Poison is the just, poster child for me for bad glam metal band from that era. All about how much makeup and hairspray they've got. The songs always sounded very anemic. Sure, they were popular. Sure, they had big hits, much bigger than House of Lords did. I don't care for that kind of stuff. Those kind of Poison songs, and oh no, that doesn't work for me at all. There are exceptions. There's a few bands here and there like, but they tend to be ones, maybe more like, a Rat or early Motley Crue, where they had something else going on besides just these very kind of bland, insipid tunes slapped together to give these pretty boys something to do while trying to get the girls to swoon over them. House of Lords is a cut above that, but it was a tough time to market this kind of material. Anyway, they move forward and released their next album in 1990. It's called Sahara. This one I've always liked, and this was my introduction to the band because this, had another minor hit. It was a cover song, though, a cover of Can't Find My Way Home, which has never been my favorite song by anybody, and it seems to get covered a lot, which just confuses and irritates me even more and makes me like the song even less. The song that I really dig on here and that had a video made for it, we got a little bit of rotation on MTV, is called Remember My Name. It's just, it's a big sort of, slow ballady song, very typical of the era. But that's one I will play a clip of since it's kind of the song that, when I saw that video a couple of times on MTV, I'm like, that's a good song. I like that band. And it made me go out and track down a copy of Sahara. And now, 34 years later, I'm still talking about them. Not sure how that happened. Anyway, let's hear a clip of the ballad Remember My Name. There you go. Remember My Name. Again, kind of a very minor hit for the band. It never made like, video of the day or anything on MTV, but it got enough play. It got in front of my eyes, and I was the right age to like this. And again, James Christian's voice has always really resonated with me. Love the emotion and power he can put into songs along the way. So yeah, Sahara, very good album. Picked it up. I liked it and promptly didn't hear anything else about the band. They did release a third album that I ended up stumbling into at a flea market somewhere. It was probably in 1992 when the album came out, but it may have actually been a little after that. It may have been more like 93. I don't know exactly. Yeah, the third album is called Demons Down. I originally had this on a cassette tape, upgraded it to a CD years later. Um, this one follows suit very much with what the band had been doing on the first two albums, and it's probably my favorite of the three. The debut album is my least favorite of the three. Sahara and Demons Down can kind of go back and forth, but I think this is a little stronger album overall. And we'll check out a clip of one of the songs from this one. This is one of kind of the faster, more rocking songs on it called Metallic Blue. This is from 1992, House of Lords, album number 3, Demons Down. There you go, Metallic Blue from House of Lords. So yeah, they're not just about power ballads. They, can rock out a bit too. Really strong album. Well, how did I miss this album when it first came out? Why wasn't it bigger? The answer is very simple. The album was released in 1992, and coming into 1992, grunge had already taken over the, popular consciousness of the music scene and pretty much, the entire music listening fan base of America. This kind of material was not going to get any attention whatsoever in 1992, sad to say. Glam metal was dying a very quick death by that point. And again, House of Lords was never really a glam band. I mean, you had thrash bands that looked like this in the early 90s. So the picture doesn't tell the whole story. But yeah, with Nevermind and 10 and Bad Motorfinger already having taken over the charts in late 91 and early 92, a band like House of Lords, the writing was on the wall. You had no chance moving forward. And so, sadly, Demons Down would be the band's final album for a while. So yeah, through the rest of the 90s and even into the early 2000s, House of Lords was just kind of, one of those long forgotten pet bands of mine. That's yeah, they did, one good album and two fantastic albums, and real shame they never did get a good break. So then you fast forward and up to, I believe it's 2004. Yeah, and word gets out that the band is coming back, which surprised the heck out of me. I didn't really know that anybody else cared about the band, but they apparently had enough of a following to launch a comeback. I'm guessing they're popular in certain territories. Maybe they're a big deal like in Japan or parts of Asia. I'm not sure. I don't ever run into House of Lords fans. But it was kind of cool to hear that they were coming back. Again, I'm always kind of suspect of comebacks and reunions. I'm usually not the person, waiting their first day hoping to see the band again or, buy the new album. But yeah, bottom line, 2004, they hook up with Frontiers Records, which is a very good label for this kind of material, and they released their fourth album called The Power and the Myth. I don't own this one anymore either. Power and the Myth would see a lot of the original members come back, but Greg Gieffra bowed out of the project at this point. I think he was involved in the talks when they were kind of getting things reactivated, but he ended up, I don't know if he had other obligations or didn't like the direction that they were going to go or what, but bottom line, he's not listed as a member in the band. So moving forward, he's out of the project. And again, James Christian becomes the one constant feature. Even though there are other original members in at this point, moving forward, the band gets a little bit of a revolving cast of characters, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's check out just a quick clip from The Power and the Myth. This will be a song called Am I the Only One? It's one of the better tracks on the album, in my opinion. So here you go.
Oh, there's no shelter from the cold midnight rain going under. There's no picture to frame a whirlwind of irony. She meets me when I'm in need. I fall where I stand alone. I'm an empty man.
All right, so yeah, clip from Power and the Myth. Am I the Only One? And obviously, they're still in that same hard rock vein. They didn't try to reinvent themselves as a grunge band or an alternative band or anything. Thank goodness for that. That song's got, kind of, a cool, quieter vibe. I like the slightly Eastern touch to it. The big thing, I think, that makes sure that this project was a success as a reunion is that James Christian still sounds every bit as good as he did 12 years earlier when the band eventually had folded after Demons Down. So yeah, Power and the Myth, overall, again, I don't think it's one of their better albums. To me, it just feels like maybe they were a little rusty. They hadn't quite got themselves back fully into gear yet, but it at least showed that the pieces were coming back together. And that would really start to hit because, again, you didn't know, was this going to be a one-off kind of reunion thing? No, actually, it turns out they've put out an album. I'm looking over the dates right now. I think they've had an album out at least once there's not been a gap longer than 3 years between releases since The Power and the Myth came out. 2006 saw the release of World Upside Down, which is this one. This one, the band finds their footing a lot more and starts to really, feel like classic House of Lords, several really good standout songs on it. And it was followed up in 2008, I believe. Yes, with, Come to My Kingdom, which is this one. These two albums I tend to get mixed up a little bit because I got them around the same time, and they're very similar in terms of, what the band's doing at the time. So I think I pulled just one song from this pair of albums to kind of represent this area. So yeah, this will be I Don't Want to Wait All Night from Come to My Kingdom. So yeah, good sense of what the band is doing at the time. They very much, kind of stuck to their guns from their early sound, and good on them for doing so. Let's see. So the band, definitely feels like, yeah, they are up and running, here 3 albums into their reunion. And we've got, let's see, a bunch of albums come after this. I'm not going to play clips from everything because that would just take forever. Kind of looking ahead to see what clips I did pick. But 2009 saw the release of Cartesian Dreams, which is another very good one. It really felt like the band was on a very strong roll at this point. 2011, they released an album called Big Money, which is not one of their better ones, in my opinion. Here, it felt like, yeah, kind of missed a beat a little bit. I don't have a copy of that one anymore. The one thing I remember about it is there's 1 or 2 songs where it seems like they kind of very gratuitously start throwing in a few random swear words, which, I'm not Tipper Gore or anything, but it felt very out of place for a band like this to, try to do that with the lyrics. It's like, y'all are better than that. That's not going to get you any fans. That just doesn't work for your style of music. Anyway, after that, 2011, you had 2014 saw the release of Precious Metal. I also don't have a physical copy of that one, but it is a very good album. They bounce back pretty quick from the kind of, slight letdown of Big Money. Precious Metal is a good album. Big Money, Precious Metal, these are ones I bought digitally. Again, you get there in the early 2010s. I just, bought a lot of stuff as downloads rather than trying to track down CDs all the time. Same for 2015's Indestructible. This one's not a bad album, but it never made a really strong impression on me one way or the other. So it felt like, okay, it's kind of an average House of Lords album. Then 2017 saw the release of Saint of the Lost Souls. And this one, quite good. I think I'd gotten this digitally at first and eventually had a chance to pick it up for a good price on CD and did so. So there is the band again. James Christian still fronting the band, still sounding as good as ever. And I mentioned before that, through this era, you started seeing members kind of come and go, but they would also come back. I'm not even going to try to follow all the ins and outs, but you would have somebody, play on a couple of House of Lords albums on guitar, then might duck out for an album and then come back on the following album. Drummer might be on for one album, skip 2 albums, come back on the fourth album. So I'm guessing these guys just had other projects and things going on, and so it to some extent depended on how the timing lined up for things as to who ended up playing. But most of them seem to be, coming back here and there. So I don't think anybody was leaving because it was a bad work environment or because of personality clashes or anything. They just kind of got into this pattern of, this album will include these guys. And the next one will kind of swap out a few folks for those that were on the bench that time around. All right, 2020 saw the release of New World, New Eyes, which is this one. This one is not my favorite. And again, the band's not doing anything different on this album. It just doesn't seem to have like, the same big catchy hooks to it. More of the songs just kind of seem to go by without making a huge impression one way or the other. So yeah, was a bit disappointed with this one. Then in 2022, they released their most recent album. And once again, I missed it when it came out. I tend to always be about one House of Lords album behind. It's not like they get a huge press push when these things come out. It's not plastered all over YouTube that, hey, new House of Lords album. So I didn't know this one came out until 2023. But Saints and Sinners was released in 2022. And I've got to say, this is one of the band's finest albums to date. It's arguably my knee jerk, I want to say it's my favorite album of their entire 20-year comeback because it's now been 20 years since Power and the Myth. So they've had a much longer run here in the 21st century than they did in the 20th. This album absolutely blew me away. I'll play a couple of clips in a second. One of the big things here that seems to have made a difference is they brought in a different keyboard player, and he does a really nice job of livening up different songs. His style sounds very 1980s. It's, got that kind of retro vibe to it, but in a very fun way. So it really just adds kind of, that extra little, missing it factor that New Worlds, New Eyes just didn't quite have. And you combine that with the fact that, again, James Christian still sounds incredibly strong. The rest of the band does too. I'm not selling the rest of the band short. That they are always, pretty tight. You've got a good group of musicians here, and it made for a fantastic album. I didn't put this on my best of 2022 releases because, again, I didn't even find out about it until early 2023. Again, it's also not a heavy metal album. It probably wouldn't be fair to put it on a release of best albums of 2023 out unless I was doing things outside of heavy metal. But let's do check out a couple of clips here from this newest one just to show what they're doing here. We'll start with a clip of the title track, Saints and Sinners.
Creatures reveal their epic plan. The evil harbingers, the shadows of a man, rise up and lit the fires. Our hearts forever jammed. All the things within you, resurrection vanquished, never saw it coming. High is the flight, dark is the night. All that was lost, saints and sinners, faithless we fly, lost in her eyes. All that was lost, saints and sinners.
All right, so yeah, the title track, absolutely great way to begin the album. And let's do one more clip. This one, they kind of did an eponymous song, finally. This song's called House of the Lord. And just, yeah, another real cracker from the album. Let's check out a little bit of that one.
My eyes, they have seen visions far beyond the pale. Live or die, shine on. We try so hard, but visions never fail. We are only human, never let it slip away. If you ever lose your faith, you don't have to give it all. If you're giving up on love, you don't have to break away. If the dream is not enough, ooh baby, if you close your eyes to the heavens up above, I'll be there to catch you if you fall from the house of the Lord, the house of the Lord, your archangel.
So yeah, there's a clip from House of the Lord. And both of those songs you can hear snippets of what I was talking about with the keyboards, just adding a nice kind of fun 80s element back into the music. The little kind of squiggly sounds there in House of Lord, just subtle in the background, not taking over the music. And on Saints and Sinners, got a little bit of like that more Hammond kind of sound, something that John Lord might have used on like Deep Purple's Perfect Strangers album. Just it's a really nice touch that stood out immediately on the album, uh, that was just missing maybe on the album or two before that. The album's is great, almost start to finish. There's a beautiful ballad on here called Avalanche that I was going to play a clip of that, but when I thought about it, I was like, I'm not sure I can hold it together if I do that, and I don't want to cry on camera. So yeah, well, you can go play that on your own if you want to. It's, in all seriousness, it sounds like the kind of song that someone like Adele would sing. And while that's obviously not, in the heavy metal realm, I got nothing against her. She can, sing and have, a lot of emotive power in her voice. The Avalanche ballad is absolutely divine on here. So yeah, bottom line, here we are. It's 2024. This was album number 13 for the band, and it's one of their finest hours. So here's a good example of where a band did come back together and really hit their stride the second time around. They did great stuff on their first three albums. It was just a case of bad timing and having to, getting put in the wrong bin. They were a little late to the game. The late 80s, anything hard rock just got lumped in with glam metal, and they're not a glam band. And then grunge happened and pretty much scuttled their third album. A lot of times when bands try to come back from something like that, again, I don't think they manage to recapture the magic very well. House of Lords is an exception. This band, now has a long, strong run of albums. They have their ups and downs. Some are better than others, but they've stayed very consistent to their sound. They've stuck with Frontiers Records throughout this run. And again, that's a great home for a band like this. So they're not distracted by hopping around from label to label or anything like that. You've got, a fantastic frontman anchoring the band through all the other lineup changes. The guys that they rotate in and out always know what they're doing. The musicianship is strong, and they still are able to write some of their best tunes even after all these years. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is why I will always check out a new House of Lords album. I probably just won't hear it until about a year after it comes out because nobody tells me they come out, and they just don't get nearly as much press as they could. The fact that they have made a 20-year comeback career happen here tells me there has to be some other folks out there that enjoy this band. I can't be the only person buying these. Frontiers seems like a nice label. I doubt they're that forgiving that you can sell one copy per album and still stay on the label. So yeah, it's time for me to quit talking here. And now let's talk metal, or House of Lords, at least, in the comments down below. Where are the other fans of this band? If you're into them, let me know. What albums do you like? Maybe a few of the trivia bits here and there that I don't know about the band. Anytime you watch someone's video, whether it's mine or someone else's on YouTube, you should take at least a moment to scan through some of the comments. Yes, I know comment sections a lot of times just get filled up with random advertisements and trolls and stuff. Yeah, at least on smaller channels like this one, a lot of the comments are very thoughtful and include a lot of good information. People will add corrections where maybe I got a date or a title wrong, or they'll add more information about the topic that I didn't know or didn't have time to include in the video. So yes, House of Lords fans, this is your moment to shine. Hit the comments down below, add a little bit of information about the band, if nothing else, your favorite albums or songs from the era. And with that, I will bring this video to a close. Next time we'll do something nice and heavy, I promise. Most likely, sometimes I don't always know the order these will come out in, but we'll get back to talking actual heavy metal in the near future. But every now and then, you got to stop and enjoy an excellent hard rock band, and that's what we have done here today. So until next time, everybody, take care, and keep banging your head to one of the other bands if you can't bang into House of Lords.